you and to the ranking member. This is a really important subcommittee for me, being the representative from the Virgin Islands. I tell people back home that the reason that 7 nations over time owned the Virgin Islands was not because they wanted a vacation spot. It was first because of our agriculture, but more importantly, it was because of our geographic location and our strategic importance for national security interests as well as for commerce. And with that being said, this committee and both of you are very important to us, both for a strategic location in terms of commerce and as well in terms of national security interest as well. Because listen, there's a reason that Bluebeard, Blackbeard, and Redbeard had their homes on St. Thomas. It was very important to them in terms of their commerce. And unfortunately, in the 21st century, drug traffickers are very smart as well. And they are using the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as security interests are blocking the movement of drugs into the United States through land going to the sea. And having the sufficient funds from the Coast Guard to be able to fight that is very, very important to us. So you have my support, both of you, in terms of creating what's needed in the budget fight and ensuring that you have the right amount of vessels and our ports are in the shape that they're supposed to be so that maritime work can be done. So with that, one of my first questions to you, Admiral Busby, is related to port infrastructure and how will resilient port design, maritime highway design, designation, and intermodal connections impact global shipping?
Thank you for the question, ma'am, and thank you for the support. Marine highways is development is a very large priority with the Department of Transportation and MARA in particular, because we see that mode as the mode with the greatest opportunity for expansion and capacity in the future. We're only going to be moving more things as population increases and as we see flow of goods around the world. So, our highways and our railroads are getting very crowded, as we all know, and air shipment is still pretty expensive. So our waterways, which our nation is blessed with, provides a natural route to move more and more goods. So to the extent we can continue to develop our marine waterways, I think is going to be to all of our national benefit.
I agree, and with that, sir, when you talk about LNG, my colleague sitting right next to me, the Virgin Islands, we actually have deep water ports. We're outside of the customs zone, and we already have an oil refinery. So LNG, you guys could bring it right to us. We'll take care of you. The other thing I wanted to ask about with regard to the Coast Guard is the support that you feel that you have from us and what you need from us, and particularly in the area of the Virgin Islands. And I'll ask you first with regard to drug trafficking and the need for additional ships and et cetera. What would you want that to look like to be able to fight within the Caribbean?
Not exactly within my current responsibilities, but I can speak in general terms, ma'am, and I would tell you that first, we are grateful to the tremendous support that we've received from Congress and the administration. We receive funding for our second OPC. We've got funding for 6 FRCs, 2 of which will go off to replace, recapitalize 6 that we have over right now in CENTCOM AOR. And sir, Mr. DeFazio, I appreciate your thanks that we had people there as well working with the Navy during the shutdown over actually in CENTCOM AOR that were not getting paid, but we stood to watch. We're very proud of them. Ma'am, to your question, we are grateful to the support. We are recapitalizing our assets. We recouped about $6 billion worth of drugs off the waterways last year, getting after those transnational criminal organizations where they're most vulnerable, which is at sea. We'll continue that. That is the Commandant's one of his top priorities.
And what about shoreside infrastructure? I know that we often talk about when we talk about assets, we're talking about ships and your men and women who are out there fighting, but what about shoreside infrastructure to support the fleet itself?
We have an aging infrastructure there as well, ma'am. I believe we're up to about $1.7 billion in our backlog. Recent committee support through Congress, we've got some funding to start getting after that. but there's still a lot more work to be done to get after all of our backlog there.
Okay, thank you very much for the time.